If you are a Taurus who has been quietly wondering why your peace keeps slipping through your fingers no matter how hard you try to hold on to it, this video is going to show you exactly where the leak is and how to seal it for good. You have spent so much of your life building stability, building comfort, building a world that feels safe and predictable and solid beneath your feet. And yet, something keeps pulling the rug out from under you. Not in big dramatic ways that everyone can see, but in small, relentless ways that only you notice. The tightness in your chest when you wake up at 3 in the morning. The heaviness that settles over you on a quiet Sunday afternoon, when there is nothing to distract you from the truth you have been avoiding. The way you smile and say everything is fine when everything inside you is screaming that it is not. You are tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, but the deep, bone-level exhaustion that comes from fighting a war nobody else can see. And the hardest part is that you have been fighting against yourself. There is a pattern running beneath the surface of your life, something you have been repeating for years without even realizing it. And it has been draining your peace drop by drop until you woke up one day and realized the well was nearly empty. Stay with me through every single tip in this video, because what I am about to share is going to change the way you understand yourself, and it is going to give you the tools to finally break free. Tip 1. You have been mistaking stubbornness for strength, and it has been quietly destroying your life. There is something about being a Taurus that the world admires but rarely understands. You are steady. You are dependable. When everyone around you is falling apart, you are the one standing still, holding the ground, refusing to bend. And people love that about you. They lean on you, they count on you, they look at your unshakable presence, and they feel safer just knowing you are there. But here is the thing nobody tells you, and I mean nobody, not the people who depend on you, not the ones who praise your resilience, not even the voice inside your own head. There is a difference between being strong and being stuck, and you crossed that line a long time ago. You have been holding on to things that stopped serving you years ago, relationships that drain more than they nourish, jobs that pay the bills but starve your soul, habits that once gave you comfort, but now keep you trapped in a loop you cannot seem to escape. And you hold on, not because these things are good for you, but because letting go feels like failure. Because somewhere deep in your core, you learned that changing your mind means you were wrong. That walking away from something you committed to means you are weak. That flexibility is just another word for giving up. And so you dig your heels in deeper, grip tighter, push harder against a wall that is never going to move. And you call it strength. But it is not strength. It is fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of admitting that the thing you built your identity around is no longer working. Fear of what you might find if you actually stopped long enough to look at your life with honest eyes. And I know that word, fear, does not sit well with you. Taurus does not do fear. Taurus does not flinch. Taurus endures. But endurance without direction is just suffering with a better reputation. You have been enduring things that you should have released a long time ago. And the weight of all that unnecessary carrying is the very thing that has been stealing your peace. I want you to think about the one thing in your life right now that you know deep in your gut is not working. The thing you defend when people ask about it. The thing you make excuses for. The thing that, if you were giving advice to someone else in the same situation, you would tell them to walk away from immediately. You know what it is. You have known for a while, but you have convinced yourself that if you just wait a little longer, try a little harder, give it one more chance, it will get better. And that belief, that relentless, stubborn belief that you can fix something by refusing to let it go, is the pattern that is draining your peace. Not the situation itself, not the person, not the job, not the habit. Your refusal to accept that sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is release your grip and trust that something better is waiting for you on the other side. That is where your real strength lives. Not in holding on, but in knowing when to let go. Tip 2. You have been absorbing everyone else's emotions without realizing what it costs you. Let me tell you something that might sound surprising coming from a message about Taurus, because people do not usually associate your sign with emotional sensitivity. They think of you as the rock, the anchor, the one who is too grounded to be shaken by other people's feelings. But that is only half the story. And the other half is the one that has been silently wrecking your inner peace for longer than you care to admit. You feel everything. You absorb the moods, the anxieties, the frustrations, and the grief of the people around you like a sponge that nobody ever wrings out. You just keep soaking it up, day after day, conversation after conversation, until you are so saturated with emotions that are not even yours that you cannot tell where their pain ends and your peace begins. This is something you have probably never talked about, because admitting it would contradict the image you have spent your entire life building. The image of someone who is calm, collected, unbothered, someone who handles things, someone who does not get rattled. But the truth is, you get rattled all the time. You just do it internally behind closed doors, in the private silence of your own mind where nobody can see. Someone close to you comes to you stressed and overwhelmed, and you listen patiently, you offer solid advice, you hold space for their chaos, and then they leave feeling lighter, and you are left carrying their heaviness on top of your own. And you never say a word about it because you do not even have the language for what is happening. What is happening is that you are an emotional container for everyone around you. People dump their worries, their fears, their frustrations into you because you seem big enough and stable enough to hold it all. And you are. You can hold it. But just because you can does not mean you should. Just because you have the capacity to absorb the emotional overflow of every person in your life does not mean it is your job to do so. And every time you take on someone else's emotional weight without processing or releasing it, you are adding another brick to the wall that separates you from your own peace. I want you to start noticing something. The next time you spend time with someone and you leave feeling heavier than when you arrived, I want you to pause and ask yourself, is this mine? Is this heaviness, this anxiety, this frustration something that belongs to me, or did I pick it up from them? Because 9 times out of 10, you will realize it is not yours. It was never yours. You simply absorbed it because that is what you have always done, and nobody ever taught you how to give it back. You are not a landfill for other people's emotional waste. You are a human being with your own feelings, your own needs, your own right to exist without carrying the weight of everyone else's world on your shoulders. Start putting that weight down. You have been carrying it long enough. If what you're hearing feels accurate, imagine what could happen if you applied this energy intentionally for 21 consecutive days. That's exactly what the 21-day program in the pinned comment is built for. Daily guidance, focused direction, and real momentum. If you're tired of staying in the same cycle, this is your structure. Tip 3. You have been confusing comfort with happiness, and the difference is costing you your future. This one might be the hardest thing you hear today, but it might also be the most important. So please stay with me, because there is something on the other side of this discomfort that you desperately need to see. You love comfort. That is not a criticism, it is simply a truth about who you are. You love the feeling of a routine that works, a space that feels like home, a life that runs smoothly without too many surprises. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with wanting those things. But here is where the trap springs shut. You have started confusing the absence of discomfort with the presence of happiness. And those are two very, very different things. Think about your life right now. Really think about it, not the version you present to the world, but the honest, unfiltered reality. Are you happy? Or are you just comfortable? Are you waking up each morning with a sense of excitement and purpose? Or are you waking up to the same routine, going through the same motions, arriving at the end of each day feeling not unhappy exactly, but not alive either? There is a gray zone between misery and joy, a place where nothing is wrong but nothing is right either, and you have been living in that gray zone for far too long. Not because you cannot have more, but because reaching for more would require you to leave the safety of what you already know. And for a Taurus, leaving safety feels like stepping off a cliff blindfolded. But here is what you need to understand about that gray zone. It is not neutral. It is not safe. It is slowly, imperceptibly shrinking your life. Every day you spend in that zone of comfortable numbness, you are saying no to possibilities you cannot even see yet. You are saying no to the relationship that would set your soul on fire. You are saying no to the creative pursuit that would give your life meaning beyond the bills and the routines and the predictable rhythm of days that all look exactly the same. You are saying no to the version of yourself that is braver, more vibrant, more fully alive than anything you have allowed yourself to be in years. Comfort is seductive because it promises safety, but the safety it offers is an illusion. You are not safe in your comfort zone. You are stagnating. You are slowly dying in the most socially acceptable way possible, surrounded by nice things and pleasant routines while the fire inside you goes out one ember at a time. And you deserve more than that. You deserve a life that makes you feel something, even if feeling something means occasionally feeling uncomfortable. Growth does not happen in the places where everything stays the same. Growth happens at the edges, in the unfamiliar territory where your heart beats a little faster and your hands shake a little, and you are not entirely sure if you are going to make it. That is where you come alive. That is where the real you is waiting. And it is time you went to find them. I am not telling you to blow up your life. I am not telling you to quit your job tomorrow or end every stable relationship you have. I am telling you to start introducing small doses of newness into the comfortable routine you have built. Try something you have never tried before. Go somewhere you have never been. Have a conversation that scares you. Read something that challenges your beliefs. Let yourself be a beginner again, even though your ego will hate every second of it. Because on the other side of that discomfort is a version of happiness you have never experienced. One that is earned, not inherited. One that is alive, not just safe. Tip 4. You have been holding on to resentment like it is a treasure, and it is poisoning you from the inside. Let us talk about the thing you never talk about. The thing that sits in the back of your mind like a locked cabinet you pretend does not exist. You carry resentment. Deep, heavy, carefully cataloged resentment that goes back years, sometimes decades. You remember every slight, every betrayal, every time someone took your kindness and treated it like it was nothing. You remember the words they said, the way their face looked when they said them, the exact moment you realized they did not value you the way you valued them. And you filed all of it away, neatly and precisely, in a mental archive that you visit more often than you would ever admit. Other people forget. They move on. They say hurtful things on a Tuesday and by Thursday they have forgotten they even said them. But you do not forget. You hold on to every wound with the same tenacity that you hold on to everything else in your life. Because for you, letting go of the hurt feels like letting the person who caused it off the hook. Feels like saying what they did was okay. It feels like erasing evidence of an injustice that deserves to be remembered. And so you carry it. You carry it in your chest, in your shoulders, in the way your jaw tightens when someone mentions a name you have not spoken in years. You carry it like it is doing something useful, like holding on to the pain is somehow protecting you from being hurt that way again. But it is not protecting you. It is imprisoning you. Every piece of resentment you carry is a chain linking you to a moment you cannot change. Every grudge is an anchor dragging you backward while you are trying to move forward. You think you are punishing the person who hurt you by refusing to forgive them, but they are out there living their life, completely unaware of the weight you are carrying on their behalf. The only person being punished by your resentment is you. The only life being diminished by it is yours. And the irony is so painful it almost takes your breath away. You who value fairness above almost everything are being profoundly unfair to yourself by refusing to put this burden down. Forgiveness is not about the other person. It never was. Forgiveness is not saying what they did was acceptable. It is not inviting them back into your life. It is not pretending the wound does not exist. Forgiveness is simply the decision to stop carrying something that was never yours to carry in the first place. Someone else made a choice that caused you pain. That was their action, their responsibility, their karma to deal with. Your job is not to hold on to the evidence of their wrongdoing like some kind of emotional prosecutor building a case that will never go to trial. Your job is to heal. Your job is to free up the space that resentment has been occupying in your heart and fill it with something that actually serves you. Peace, joy, the lightness that comes from finally, after all these years, putting the weight down. I know you are afraid that if you forgive, you will be vulnerable to being hurt again. But you are already being hurt, every single day, by the resentment itself. The thing you are holding on to for protection is the very thing that is keeping you in pain. Let it go. Not for them, for you. Because you deserve a heart that is free, not one that is cluttered with the debris of battles that ended long ago. Tip 5. You have built your entire identity around being needed, and now you do not know who you are without it. There is a question I want you to sit with, and I want you to answer it honestly, even if the answer terrifies you. If every single person in your life suddenly stopped needing you tomorrow, who would you be? If nobody called you for advice, if nobody leaned on you for support, if nobody needed you to be the steady one, the reliable one, the one who always has it together, what would be left? Take a moment with that. Really sit in it. Because if the answer is some version of I do not know, then you have just identified the deepest pattern that has been draining your peace, and you did not even realize it was there. You have built your entire sense of self around being useful, being needed, being the person other people cannot manage without. And that feels good, it truly does, in the moment. There is a warmth that floods through you when someone says, I do not know what I would do without you. There is a sense of purpose that locks into place when you are the one solving the problem, shouldering the burden, holding the family or the friendship or the workplace together. But that warmth, that purpose, it is borrowed. It is conditional. It exists only as long as someone else needs something from you. And the moment they do not, the moment they find their own strength or simply move on, you are left standing in an empty room wondering what you are for. This is not a flaw in your character. It is a coping mechanism you developed a long time ago, probably so long ago that you do not even remember the moment it took root. At some point in your early life, you learned that love and attention and belonging were things you had to earn by being useful, by being good, by being the one who never causes problems and always has solutions. And so you became that person so thoroughly and so completely that you forgot there was ever anything else underneath. The person who has needs of their own. The person who wants to be loved not for what they provide, but for who they are when they are providing nothing at all. You need to start building an identity that exists independent of your usefulness to others. And I know that sounds abstract, so let me make it concrete. What do you enjoy doing that has absolutely nothing to do with helping someone else? What brings you pleasure that is not tied to someone else's approval or gratitude? What would you do with a free afternoon if there was nobody to take care of, nobody to advise, nobody waiting for you to show up and hold things together? If you cannot answer those questions easily, that is not a failure. That is a starting point. That is the exact place where your real life begins. Start exploring what you actually want, not what you think you should want, not what would make you the most useful or the most admirable, but what genuinely lights you up from the inside. It might be something small. It might be something unexpected. It might be something you abandoned years ago because it seems selfish or impractical or unproductive. But whatever it is the thread that will lead you back to yourself. The self that exists beneath all the roles you play and all the needs you fill. The self that is worthy of love and belonging not because of what it does, but because of what it is. Find that self. Nurture that self. Because that is where your peace has been hiding all along. Tip 6. You have been using material security as a substitute for emotional fulfillment. This is going to touch a nerve, and I want you to know that I say it with nothing but compassion and understanding. You have spent a significant portion of your life pursuing material security. A solid home, a reliable income, a savings account that gives you a sense of control in a world that often feels uncontrollable. And there is wisdom in that, real wisdom. You are not frivolous. You are not wasteful. You understand the value of having a foundation beneath your feet, and that understanding has served you well in countless ways. But somewhere along the road, something shifted. The pursuit of security stopped being a means to an end and became the end itself. And now you are standing in the middle of a life that is materially stable but emotionally barren, wondering why having everything you thought you wanted does not feel the way you thought it would. You bought the things. You built the routines. You created the comfortable environment that was supposed to make you feel safe and whole and content. But the contentment never came. Or it came in flashes, brief moments of satisfaction when a new purchase arrived or a financial goal was met. And then it faded, leaving behind the same quiet emptiness that was there before. And so you tried again. More things, more savings, more security. If the last thing did not fill the hole, surely the next one would. But it never does. It never has. And deep down, you know that it never will. The reason it does not work is because the hole you are trying to fill is not material. It is emotional. It is the place inside you that craves connection, intimacy, vulnerability, the kind of raw and honest human contact that no amount of money or comfort can replicate. You have been buying furniture for a room that needs a conversation. You have been insulating your walls when what you actually need is to open a window and let someone see inside. And the longer you use material security as a proxy for emotional fulfillment, the wider the gap between what you have and what you need becomes. I am not telling you to stop being financially responsible. That would be absurd, and it would go against every fiber of your being. What I am telling you is to start investing with equal intensity in the parts of your life that money cannot touch. The friendships that need deepening. The words you have been afraid to say to the person you love. The creative impulses you have been ignoring because they do not generate income. The spiritual hunger that gnaws at you in quiet moments, and that you have been trying to satisfy with physical comfort. These are the currencies of a fulfilled life, and you have been bankrupt in them for far too long, while your material accounts overflow. Start making deposits in your emotional life. Call someone and tell them what they mean to you without waiting for a special occasion. Sit with a feeling without trying to buy your way out of it. Let yourself want something that has no price tag, no practical value, no justification beyond the simple fact that your heart is asking for it. Your heart has been asking for a long time. It is time you started listening. Tip 7. You have been so afraid of change that you have stopped growing. Let me be direct with you. Because you are someone who respects directness, even when it is uncomfortable. You have stopped growing. Not intellectually, not professionally, not in the ways the world measures progress. In those ways, you might even be thriving. But in the ways that matter most, the deep, internal, soulful ways that determine whether your life has meaning or merely has momentum, you have been standing still for a very long time. And the reason is simple, even though it is difficult to hear. You are terrified of change. I know. You do not think of it as terror. You think of it as preference. You prefer stability. You prefer routine. You prefer knowing what is coming next so you can prepare for it. And all of that is true. But underneath that preference is something rawer and less comfortable. It is the bone-deep fear that if things change, you will lose something you cannot get back. That if you step off the path you have been walking, you will not be able to find your way home. That if you let go of who you have been, you might not like who you become. And so you have created a life that is change-proof. A life wrapped in so many layers of routine and predictability that nothing unexpected can get in. But here is the thing about building a change-proof life. Nothing unexpected can get in. Not the bad things which you were trying to protect yourself from, but also not the good things. Not the surprise that takes your breath away. Not the opportunity that appears from nowhere and changes everything. Not the person who walks into your life and sees you in a way nobody ever has before. You have sealed yourself so tightly against the possibility of pain that you have also sealed yourself against the possibility of joy. And a life without the possibility of joy is not safety. It is a very comfortable kind of death. Growth requires change. There is no way around it. There is no version of personal evolution that allows you to stay exactly where you are while simultaneously becoming who you are meant to be. The caterpillar does not get to keep its body while also becoming a butterfly. Something has to dissolve. Something has to fall apart. Something old has to end so that something new can begin. And that process is messy and terrifying and completely outside your control, which is exactly why you have been avoiding it. But you cannot avoid it forever. Life has a way of forcing change on the people who refuse to choose it for themselves. And when change is forced on you, it is always more painful than when you walk toward it willingly. You have seen this happen before. You have been caught off guard by shifts you did not see coming, and the shock was worse than the change itself because you had built no resilience for it. You had spent all your energy keeping things the same instead of learning how to navigate things being different. Start choosing change before it chooses you. Small changes at first. A new route to a familiar place. A different response to a familiar situation. A willingness to say yes to something your instincts tell you to refuse simply because it is unfamiliar. Each small change builds your capacity for the bigger ones that are coming. And they are coming. Not to destroy your life, but to expand it in ways you cannot even imagine yet. Trust the process. Trust yourself. You are far more adaptable than you give yourself credit for. Tip 8. You have been silencing your own needs to keep the peace, and the peace you are keeping is not real. If there is one thing you value above almost everything else, it is peace. Not the superficial kind where people just stop arguing, but the deep, grounded, real peace that comes from everything being in its right place. You crave it. You build your entire life around it. You will go to extraordinary lengths to maintain it, even if those lengths include swallowing your own needs, muting your own voice, and making yourself smaller than you actually are. And here is the painful irony that you need to confront today. The peace you have been keeping is not real. It is a performance, and the audience is everyone except you. Every time you bite your tongue instead of saying what you actually think, you are choosing the appearance of peace over the reality of it. Every time you say it is fine when it is not fine, you are papering over a crack that is getting wider by the day. Every time you absorb someone else's bad behavior because confronting it would cause a scene, you are sacrificing your own inner calm on the altar of outer harmony. And the result is a life that looks peaceful from the outside but feels like a war zone on the inside. A life where everyone thinks you are happy because you never complain, while you lie awake at night with a chest full of things you never said and a heart full of needs you never expressed. Real peace is not the absence of conflict. Real peace is the presence of honesty. It is being able to say what you need without fear of punishment. It is being able to disagree without losing the relationship. It is knowing that the people in your life can handle the truth about who you are, not just the edited, palatable version you have been presenting to keep things smooth. And if they cannot handle it, if your honesty is enough to shatter the harmony between you, then what you had was never harmony at all. It was a hostage negotiation, and you were the hostage. You have needs. Important, valid, non-negotiable needs that you have been treating as optional extras in your own life. The need to be heard. The need to be considered. The need to feel that your presence in a relationship is about more than what you provide. The need to take up space without apologizing for it. These are not luxuries. These are the basic requirements of a human life. And you have been denying yourself every single one of them in the name of keeping a peace that only exists on the surface. It is time to start speaking. Not with aggression, not with the accumulated fury of years of silence exploding all at once, but with the calm, steady honesty that is your birthright as a Taurus. You do not need to scream to be heard. You just need to stop whispering. You just need to stop volunteering for silence every time speaking up might cause a ripple. The ripple is not the enemy. The ripple is the beginning of real, authentic, sustainable peace. The kind that does not require you to sacrifice yourself to maintain. The kind that includes your needs as well as everyone else's. The kind you have been craving your entire life without realizing that you were the one standing in the way of it. Some people watch, others transform. If you want to be in the second group, the 21-day guide in the pinned comment gives you a clear step-by-step process aligned with your sign. This isn't about waiting. It's about moving. Tip 9. You have been living in the past because the future feels too uncertain to trust. There is a place you go when the present feels too difficult and the future feels too unknown. A place that is warm and familiar and safe, even when it hurts. You go to the past. You replay old memories, old conversations, old versions of your life that felt more certain than the one you are living now. You think about the way things used to be, the way people used to make you feel, the moments that glowed with a warmth you cannot seem to find in the present. And you hold on to those memories the way you hold on to everything. Tightly, devotedly, with a refusal to let go that borders on religion. And I understand why. The past is finished. It is known. It cannot surprise you or disappoint you or change on you without warning. It is the only thing in your life that is truly stable, because it has already happened and nothing can alter it. And for someone who craves stability above all else, the past is the ultimate safe haven. But here is what you are not seeing, and it is something that needs to be said even though it will not be easy to hear. The past you are remembering is not the past as it actually was. It is the past as you have chosen to remember it. You have edited it, smoothed its rough edges, amplified its beauty and muted its pain until it became something closer to a fairy tale than a reality. And then you hold that fairy tale up against your messy, complicated, imperfect present, and you wonder why the present falls short. It will always fall short. Not because your present is lacking, but because you are comparing a living, breathing, imperfect reality to a curated memory that no longer exists outside your own mind. And every moment you spend in that memory is a moment stolen from the life you could be building right now. You cannot live in two places at once. You cannot have one foot in yesterday and one foot in today and expect to walk anywhere meaningful. You have to choose. And as long as you keep choosing the past, the future will remain exactly what you fear most. Uncertain, unfamiliar, and out of your control. The future is supposed to be uncertain. That is not a flaw in the design of life. That is the design of life. Certainty was never promised to you, and it was never supposed to be. What was promised to you, what is your birthright as a living, breathing, feeling human being, is the capacity to meet whatever comes with courage and grace and the deep, quiet knowing that you have survived every uncertain moment that has ever come before. You have a 100% survival rate for difficult days. Every single hard thing that has ever happened to you, you got through it. You are here reading this, breathing, feeling, wondering what comes next. That is not a coincidence. That is proof of a resilience so deep and so powerful that no amount of uncertainty can truly threaten it. Stop running backward. The comfort you find in the past is an illusion, and the fear you feel about the future is a story your mind has been telling you to keep you from taking the risks that would set you free. The present moment, this exact one, with all its mess and beauty and unfinished business, is where your life is happening. It is the only place your life has ever happened, and it is waiting for you to show up to it fully, without one hand reaching backward for something that is already gone. Let the past be what it is. A teacher, not a home. Your home is here. Your home is now, and it is time you moved in. Tip 10. You have been waiting for permission to live the life you actually want. This is the final tip, and in many ways, it is the one that everything else has been building toward. So I want you to listen carefully, because this is the truth that sits beneath every pattern, every struggle, every moment of stolen peace that we have talked about today. You have been waiting for the right time, waiting for the right circumstances, waiting for someone, anyone to look at you and say, yes, you are allowed. Yes, you deserve this. Yes, it is your turn now. You have been waiting for permission to live the life you actually want instead of the life you think you are supposed to have. And that permission has never come. Not because you do not deserve it, but because the only person who can give it to you is you. And you have been withholding it from yourself with the same stubborn determination that you bring to everything else. You have told yourself that you need to wait until the finances are right, until the timing is perfect, until every possible risk has been accounted for and every potential failure has been planned against. You have told yourself that wanting more is greedy, that pursuing your own happiness is selfish, that the responsible thing to do is stay where you are and be grateful for what you have. And gratitude is important, it truly is. But gratitude and ambition are not opposites. You can be deeply thankful for what you have while simultaneously reaching for what you want. One does not cancel out the other. The life you want, the one you think about in those quiet moments before sleep, the one that makes your heart ache with longing, even as your mind dismisses it as impractical or unrealistic. That life is not a fantasy. It is a blueprint. It is your soul showing you what you were built for, what you are capable of, what is possible when you stop limiting yourself to what feels safe and start reaching for what feels true. And the only thing standing between you and that life is your own unwillingness to give yourself the permission to pursue it. You do not need anyone else to tell you it is okay. You do not need your family's approval. You do not need your friends to understand. You do not need the stars to align or the universe to send you a sign or some external force to light up the path before you take the first step. The first step is the thing that lights up the path. You will not be able to see the whole road before you start walking. That is not how roads work. But you can see the very next step, and that is all you have ever needed. Give yourself permission. Right now, in this moment, as you are listening to these words, give yourself permission to want what you want without shame, to dream without immediately calculating all the ways the dream could fail, to take one single step toward the life that has been calling you, even if your hands are shaking and your mind is screaming that it is too risky, too uncertain, too much. It is not too much. You are not too much. In fact, you have been too little for far too long. And the world is waiting for the full, unfiltered, unapologetic version of you to finally show up. Everything we have talked about today, every pattern, every wound, every silent struggle comes down to this single moment of choice. Will you keep waiting? Will you keep standing at the edge, looking at the life you want from a safe distance, telling yourself that someday the conditions will be right? Or will you decide right now, today, that someday has arrived, that the conditions will never be perfect, and that you are going to move forward anyway because the cost of staying still has finally become greater than the fear of moving? You already know the answer. You have always known it. The only thing that has been missing is the courage to say it out loud. So say it. Say it to yourself quietly if you have to, but say it with everything you have. I am allowed to want more. I am allowed to change. I am allowed to let go of what no longer serves me and reach for what does. I am allowed to be happy not someday but now. That is not selfishness. That is not recklessness. That is the sound of someone who has finally stopped asking the world for permission and started giving it to themselves. And it is the most powerful thing a Taurus can do. Your peace was never something the world took from you. It was something you gave away, piece by piece. In every moment you chose silence over truth, comfort over growth, and everyone else's needs over your own. But the beautiful thing about peace is that it cannot be permanently lost. It can only be temporarily misplaced. And now you know exactly where to find it. Not in your routines, not in your possessions, not in the approval of the people around you. It lives inside the choices you make from this moment forward. Every time you choose honesty over harmony, growth over comfort, self-respect over self-sacrifice, You are reclaiming a piece of the peace that has always belonged to you. It was always yours. It was always waiting. And now finally you are ready to bring it home. The patterns that drained you were never your destiny. They were your teachers. And the lesson they have been trying to teach you all along is simply this. You are allowed to put yourself first. Not occasionally, not when everyone else's needs have been met, not as a last resort when you have nothing left to give. First, because when you are at peace, everyone and everything around you benefits from the overflow. You cannot pour from an empty vessel, and you have been running on empty for far too long. Fill yourself up. The world will thank you for it, even if it takes a little while for them to understand why things have changed. They do not need to understand. They just need to see the results. And the results of a Taurus who has finally chosen themselves are nothing short of extraordinary. You have two options after this video. Close it and hope things shift, or decide that the next 21 days will be different. If you choose the second, the structured 21-day transformation aligned with your sign is waiting in the pinned comment. The energy is already moving, the only question is whether you are.